Welcome back to class. You know that you are going to see this background again because it's friggin' my favorite so far. So you're welcome. Okay, so today what we are talking about is the life-changing magic of setting your own deadline. Okay, so I'm not talking about your usual just like setting deadlines for your projects or like stuff like that. I'm actually talking about a different kind of deadline that happens when you're in kind of a situation in your career, phase of your career. I don't know, maybe dealing with a situation at work perhaps that is not ideal. All right, so a little bit dark there, but I write about this actually in my book, Don't Stay in Your Lane. It's wild to see so much of me on one screen. So thanks for bearing with me on that. Anyway, so I talk about this in Don't Stay in Your Lane. I'll explain the situation that I was in and how it helped me, and then share a little bit about how it's helped clients as well. So I write about this on page, I think it says 45, of Don't Stay in Your Lane in a section called The Decision. And in this section, I break down how I was super, super burnt out in my job as a public defender, had been burnt out for, half of the 6 years that I did that work for. But it took me like really 2 years of grappling with it. And then I applied for an unpaid sabbatical to take a step back from the work 10 months in a 10 months. The mirroring thing always throws me off. 10 months in advance, because I did not want there to be any chance of me not getting approved for that sabbatical. And I had timed it out, and I had done the financial planning and like all that stuff. So I was looking at a target date. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is because as soon as I applied for and then got approved for that unpaid sabbatical, there was a date that was out there, and I believe it was April 1st. Of 2015. And so I knew that date was there, and psychologically I felt this huge weight just like come off of me. Even though I was doing the same exact work that I was doing the week before, and that hadn't changed, but it was like my feelings about it had completely transformed because I was like, oh, well, there's an end in sight and I know what it is. And I had agency in figuring out what that end date was going to be, so, like kind of as I was saying here, like I was just so glad to have an end date. So recently we've had two clients at Embrace Change who have experienced this too. And, not really even with my prompting have just said like how immediate the relief was from simply setting the date. So if you are in a shitty situation at work or in your career and you can't like leave immediately, because frequently that's not an option for us, like making sure you at least set a date, even if it's really far off, can make such a huge difference. So for these two folks, one of them was saying just like how even the next day after just saying the date to me, so it wasn't even like it was anything official, like it was official because they had said it and it was to me, but like, it wasn't like they had applied for a sabbatical like I had here. But anyway, they woke up and they felt so much better because they were like, oh my God, this is going to allow me to live my life in certain ways that I haven't been able to for so long. I've been like mortgaging my happiness for like this long, but now I know after this date, I'll be able to return to that. And their whole like mood and their outlook lifted. And for the other person, it was just similar, like knowing that it's only going to be that period of time. Like there's a finite period of time that you have to go through this continued not great situation. And it just completely flipped like how she was showing up at work and, even relationships with others. So, these are kind of, just a few like anecdotal examples, but like if you are in a situation where you're going through a really rough time in your career, consider giving yourself the gift of a deadline that you set for yourself, even if it's super far off, like I said, or even if the deadline is simply to be like, okay, at this point, I'm going to look up and reassess how things are at that point. I'm not even committing to necessarily making a change or a big leap or a career change or whatever. I'm just going to reassess at that point. Even that can really help take off the mental psychological load. And solidifying that date and externalizing it, taking it outside of, in your head, writing it down, setting a countdown on your phone. I did that. I love doing those things. It can really help. So I encourage all of you, especially if you're going through kind of a dark time in your work or career, to consider doing this and see if